Hi everybody, welcome back for another video. So you're sitting in your car and you're minding your own business, but how are you spending your time when you're in the car? Are you paying attention? Are you looking like a hard target? Are you looking out at everyone around? Or are you on your phone? Or are you fiddling with your radio? Or are you doing something else in the vehicle? You need to present yourself as a hard target. You need to make a person pass on trying to carjack your car while you're in it. You need to be smart when you're on the road, but you also need to be smart when you're parked in a parking lot in a transitional area. This is an example first of a police officer who is extremely patient, and we're going to see what he put up with, and I want to really talk about what you think that you would do in that situation.
And the male with camo is throwing rocks at us. They haven't hit yet.
Okay, so first of all, maybe I'm dating myself here, but in my generation, this doesn't happen. Police officers are respected, and just these young kids today, I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know where this comes from, but the officer is extremely patient here. What would you do in this situation? I mean, you can't just start attacking them, but they are damaging your car. It's a situation where either they're trying to entice you to get out of the car so they can have more violence, or I'm not talking about if you're a police officer. I'm talking about this is a civilian situation. So imagine yourself as a civilian here, not a police officer. So unfortunately, this kind of crime does happen in the area of Atlanta, Georgia, where I'm most familiar. I spend a lot of time here. I work here. This is a big crime, carjackings. That's the thing that's on the big rise in Atlanta. It is now in the top 10 in the country for this type of situation, and especially in the downtown area. And there are certain geographical areas in the downtown, midtown area, and to the south, where it is just bad if you don't want to be parked, you don't want to be stopped somewhere. If you need to park, you need to get onto your destination and move through those transitional spaces and look like a hard target, look like you are confident, and look people and judge the situation around you. Don't look like a soft target, don't look like a weak target. Now in this particular case with the police officer, I can tell you that for a fact there is more footage that I did not have in my hand, but I saw still images, and he did get out and there were arrests made. He was waiting for backup. He wasn't going to get out and he wasn't going to take on 3 or 4 people, and I think that was a smart move. He was really patient. This wasn't his personal car. He was at work. He was taking care of himself. But if you as a civilian and someone is doing this, I know the instinct is to get out, confront them. You're going to want to get their information for insurance. You're going to want to harm them. If you have a weapon in your car, I think a lot of people are going to draw the weapon, and I think you might have a very good justification for drawing your less lethal or drawing your firearm, and at least showing them that it is there, and try to get these guys to go away. But if you're a civilian, even before it got to that point, you should be driving away, and at the very least, you should be getting the license plate number of the car and just driving away. Your safety is the most important thing, and you can deal with the damage to the car later. It's not about ego. It's not about getting out and confronting them. So I think there's a lot to think about in these kind of situations. This wasn't a carjacking like we have in Atlanta, but it was kind of a dangerous scenario. Now our next example is going to be a guy who's outside of his car, and we're going to talk about that for a second. And then, you have to use a car in a city like Atlanta. I occasionally will use the subway, but as you can see, there's kind of deserted. It's not very commonly used. It is actually feels more dangerous than driving in my car. The subway in Atlanta will get you from point A to point B. It'll get you to the airport, but it's not the kind of traffic and safety that you get in some other cities. But the subway is an option for some people. It also has its own caveats. All right, so what about the second example? You have to get out of your car in transitional spaces. I've talked about this in a video before where I like to pump gas, how I like to pump gas, what you should need to do. So check out my prior video on that. But for here, there's an example here. This is very common in Atlanta area. When you go to the pump, you got to really be careful. This is a guy, he was not careful, he was not paying attention, and he was not prepared. And let's see what happened with him. So there's no sound in this one other than my corny sound effects that I've added here. They came up, 3 guys, he didn't see any of them coming. One of the guys had passed around behind the pump, come back, and now hear the police siren zipping by, probably going to something more important. When there's a lot of crime in town, these kind of things often are not on the top of the list. It's unfortunate, even with helicopters and police chases and car chases. You see them in a lot of big cities on the highway. These carjackings do happen. A lot of times it leads to a police chase. The car gets abandoned and destroyed, and it just doesn't work out well for anyone. But at the end of the day, your life is more important. Like the guy, he wasn't prepared, but he got out of the way, he complied, and he was lucky that they did not intend harm. Compliance is risky. Compliance works percentage of the time, and if you're unarmed, you don't have much option other than relying on compliance. The whole reason that we want to protect ourselves, carry something, is that then we have at least something in our hands other than our fist in order to protect ourselves against criminals like this. When it's 3 to 1, it's a really difficult situation. If he sees the person coming and he looks suspicious and he's coming, the guy, if he's prepared, he can be ready. But it's very difficult when you're outnumbered like this, that's for sure. You can either be a soft target or you can be a hard target when it comes to being out and about in your car. You have to choose what you're going to do. Are you going to be prepared, and are you going to be paying attention, or are you going to be distracted like a lot of people? There's people trying to take advantage, bump and runs. They'll try to get you to get out of your car and stop. They'll even do it in a public place. It has happened here. I've shown videos before. It is very common if you're driving certain models of car. One option you have is to drive an old junker. I personally like to drive older cars. I've always been like that, and I'm also the kind of person that buys a car and drives it until the car no longer wants to run. I like it that way. It's not that we can't afford more. My wife always drives new cars. I will just be happy to take an older car. I think that when it comes to your personal protection, you have to think about your lifestyle, what kind of car it is that you're driving. Are you really going about flash, or are you going into an unsafe area? If you have more than one car, which car are you going to take when you go downtown to the parking garage? Which car are you going to take when you go out in the suburbs or go on a trip? They're very different scenarios. And I know if you have more than one car, choose the older car, the one that's not a big target. But there are a lot of cheaper cars, a lot of cars where the parts, they just want to strip the parts. A lot of Kias and Hyundais, and a lot of these cars are really big targets. A lot of Toyotas, a lot of Hondas. These are the kind of cars they want. There is a black market for these parts. And it really doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a flashy, expensive car. That's not what it's all about with these carjackings. A lot of it is also the intimidation. They just want to, they're predators, and they want to put fear in a person. And they are not only robbing you of your car, but your personal belongings. And the car is just their getaway vehicle, and they come as a team. And there's a lot going on with this kind of organized crime. Some of these people are well organized, some of them are not. And results may vary depending on the situation. If you cannot carry a firearm and you can't have it on you in your car, and preferably you have it somewhere either you can draw very easily from a sitting position or an ankle holster, you don't want to have it in the glove box, you don't want to have it way behind you. You want to be able to draw it quickly if you need to. Same thing for your less lethal launcher. I don't think doing a twist makes any difference in this scenario, but you need to be able to get your hands on something and be ready, and keep that low and assess the situation, and only use it obviously if the situation would call for it. It takes a lot of restraint when you're in the car, not to either get out or not to try to ram someone. you have to be very careful. But at the end of the day, if the road is ahead and there's a car in front of you and there's a person threatening you, run through their car and keep going, and don't look back. That's your safest bet out. It's life and death situation. Do not stick around. There's people that will walk out in front of you in a tunnel. There are people at night who will step out in the road, and they may be a gang of people. So you're really vulnerable, even sometimes when you're out in a rural area. It does not have to be in the big city. It really does not matter. Your car, when you're out in your car, you are a potential victim. And sometimes it's just a random chance. You're the next person coming down the road, and then sometimes they scope you out and they have a team of people ready to rush you at the right time. So it takes a lot of situational awareness and preparedness, and that's about all I can say about that. Everybody take care, and I hope that this never happens to any of us, but we got to be ready. We'll see you in the next one.